You know what I'm saying? Let's take the money. We want to rent out the penthouse. I forgot. What's going on, everybody? Love it. Welcome, everybody. We got people joining from all over the place. If you are joining us and you can get on the Zoom, I suggest you do such a thing so that you can be able to interact with us better, I guess, right? Like just keeping it smooth. Now, if you can't and you're just out and about and you definitely want to make sure you reach in, you can catch us on all these different platforms. Of course, we are live on YouTube. We are also live on Facebook. In fact, we now created a Facebook page that you can go to, and we'll put the chat in. We'll put it in the chat as well. But you can go to this Facebook page to catch all of the recordings that will be that would come from here, and that will be there as well. So we're just trying to make sure that everybody gets access to the information because it is important. Napkin underwriting is extremely important. I think it's probably step three in the game, right? And then we'll kind of go over what those steps are. But we like to get started, and we're going to do this, and we do this every single Tuesday, um, breaking down exactly what we are doing and why we are doing it, and more importantly, helping people understand that multifamily is not the end all be all. All right, it is. Uh, it's I don't. It's kind of weird to say, but it's bigger than the end all be all. Like multifamily is huge. If you go back and you do research, you will see that. Peggy, I got you. I'm gonna put the Facebook link in here. I see Jennifer just came in as well. The amazing Jennifer. She'll probably beat me to the punch putting the Facebook group in here. But if you go back and look, you'll actually see that the bulk of what the country, United States, came from, and is continually. See, I told you she was going to beat me. There you go. And it was going to and continually runs off of is multifamily. Right? There's two main sectors out of there's a bunch, but there's two main sectors that is hands down has been the go-to investment, and that is insurance and multifamily. Most time people think like, oh, stocks, that's where people put their money. That's true, but you will be shocked to find that a lot of these companies, a lot of the banks, these major banking institutions that are taking your money and charging you crazy amounts of dollars in fees and etc., or giving you 0.0001% on all that money that you put in there and telling you that's the best that the market has to offer. They're actually taking that money and they're investing in things that give them an amazing amount of dividends over time, and that is multifamily. Even your insurance, people, you know, just a little bit of hint, clue as far as the future, because everyone in here, I believe, is multifamilies, or you would not be here on a Tuesday evening on December 27th with me if you wasn't a multi-millionaire in the multifamily space. So I want to make sure that everybody here also, if you don't have, make sure you get yourself some life insurance. Life insurance is important. Life insurance is not for death, it is for life. It is to use while you are alive, and you end up having the benefits to protect you when you pass, right? Everybody has to die, no matter how hard you want to try. One day it is coming. And so you want to use your life insurance to be able to help you while you're here. And there's different things, programs, and all type of stuff that's another conversation for another day. But definitely, please look into that. The reason why I brought that up is because a lot of the life insurance you pay those premiums. Well, guess what they do with those premiums? Why do you think they can offer you the amount of money they can offer you? It's because they are backed by an extremely solid investment that is continuing to make capital for them and dividends, and that is multifamily, right? Even Wall Street, Okay, we talked about Wall Street before. Even Wall Street, um, originally, when they started investing in commercial, they got into commercial spaces, but they actually also deeply got into multifamily. It wasn't until I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago that Wall Street started going into single family purchasing. That's because at first they could not figure a cohesive way to be able to buy enough single family homes to make it make sense. Because as you know, when Wall Street is buying things, they're buying in bulk. They're buying the whole entire thing, right? And so they can't buy one house here, which is why they ultimately went for multifamily deals. Well, what changed is, as much crap as people like to talk about wholesalers, what changed was wholesalers. Wholesalers made it possible so for Wall Street money to come in and buy hundreds and hundreds of single family property, package them all together, have them turned into turnkey so there's rent coming in and out of it, and now it's something that they can look at the same exact way they look at a multifamily. So the whole point of this soliloquy that I gave here in this opening section here was to simply let you guys know that multifamily is a place to be. Now, I do want to make something clear, because I was on a Zoom call this week. There's plenty of Zoom calls, believe it or not, that happened between Sunday and today. But I was on a Zoom call, and one of the things that was being discussed on this call was, when is the right time to get into multifamily? Now, this is my honest opinion, and I got this from an extremely wealthy man, and I take it to heart. Should you get into multifamily? If this is your first time and you want to figure out, hey, I just want to see what this is about. Should I be jumping in right now? The answer is yes. You should get into multifamily. The question is, when should you get into it? Or are you in the right space to get into multifamily? So here's the simple, easy equation. It all depends on how much money you need and when do you need the money. And say it again. It depends on how much money you need and when do you need the money. So what I mean by that is, if you need money ASAP, right? You need an influx of cash to come in within the next 30 to 60 days, then you want to make sure you stick to wholesaling. Now, I did not say don't get into multifamily. I'm saying make sure you're sticking to wholesale. Do wholesaling at least on the side as you start to gain into, multifamily, right? Jennifer just said the biggest regret people have in real estate is not investing. It's not starting soon enough. So definitely get into multifamily. Here's the kicker. Here's the thing. Let's just call a spade, guys. Let me fix my chin. Let's call a spade a spade. If you do not have any money, can you invest in multifamily? Let's just keep it 100, right? If you don't have enough money to put some of these investments, you got to come in with at least 100,000. So if you don't have at least 100,000, or you're not an accredited investor already, you don't have what it takes to get into an investment for multifamily. Now, can you be creative? Yes. Can you become an LP by pulling together other people's money and et cetera, et cetera? Absolutely. That's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is, when do you need money? Because even if you get into the investment, it doesn't mean you're going to cash out day one. So if you need capital in the next 30 to 60 days, I suggest you wholesale, and you continue to wholesale while you learn more and more about multifamily. Now, if you can withstand that, let's say you have a job and et cetera, right? Yeah, I need money, but I don't have to necessarily need it in 2 months, but I would like to have it in, 4 to 6 or 7, 8 months. You should be in the fix and flip space. That is going to be where you're going to get more bang for your buck, because a typical fix and flip can take anywhere from, just average fix and flip, 4 to 6 months on average, right? And that's going to be good for you, because every 4 to 6 months you can have a windfall of capital. Imagine if you were able to do 2 deals every 4 to 6 months. You at the end of a year, you can have $100,000 that you can be ready to invest as an LP in a multifamily deal. So if you don't need it in a year, okay, and you are looking to get a multifamily, then you can wait a long enough time where you can start making money in about a year's time. Okay, typically it can take you really good deal is going to give you a return in about 12 months, but like you real cash flow and it's really worth it to you is going to be in about 24 months, sometimes longer. Sometimes some deals don't really give you that, like, man, this was such a great investment to that 5 year mark. So imagine if you're excited about getting into multifamily, you're like, yeah, this is gonna be great. There's so many people making money. I'm finally gonna be one of those individuals. And you get yourself in a deal and you become extremely rich, but you can't see any of that until they sell the asset. So it's gonna take you 5 years. You're right back at square root one, right? Stage one. So it's definitely not, Jennifer is speaking it right now. It is definitely not a get rich type of play. It is a long term play. It is legacy. It is building wealth. There is a difference between wealth and riches. If you need to get rich, do not get into multifamily alone thinking, hey, this is how I'm going to do it. You can, but what I'm suggesting that you do is you try to take a more simpler route to get rich while you are building wealth in the multifamily space. And I wanted to make sure I made that clear because I want you all here to win, right? And I want everybody here to win. And to do so, you have to have the right mindset. And now is the perfect time to get your thoughts, your mindset in order, your action steps in order, because the next couple of days, or literally, the year is over, and we enter 2023. And now, how is 2023 going to be different for you than this year was? Right? You guys, I don't know if you can see, but I'm wearing a Michael Jordan hoodie. All right. Next year is great year of greatness. Air Jordan. Okay, next year is Mike 23. This is his year, and I want to make sure that you all have that amazing year. And so we're gonna get started. So tonight, like every other night, we do napkin underwriting. It's every Tuesday at 8 p.m. And essentially, we're gonna go over using the tool and how to be able to do napkin underwriting. Now, napkin underwriting is extremely important. I mentioned to you before. It is I feel, the third important step in your multifamily journey. Step one is your why, right? The mindset. What are you doing? Why are you doing that, right? We kind of already went over that. Step two is your team. You want to get with a crew, okay? If you are in the elephant challenge, you good, right? Because you are part of a crew. There's a bunch of them that's out there. I know Ryan is leading out one with Chad Glover. I jump in and help as much as I can. I know Rob is in one with Justin and I think it's Joshua as well. Those dudes are phenomenal. Like, I'm in there all the time, just learning as much as I can, because they're the bomb, right? And how they're able to help people has been amazing, right? And so you want to be involved in something like that. Because when you start getting into deeper into multifamily and you guys are purchasing stuff and things like that, it's going to be a team anyway, right? You rarely see any one individual buy a multifamily asset. Okay. Typically, there's going to be partners involved in purchasing, either putting money in or asset managers that's going to come in, and they're all different aspects of the game. And so you want to get yourself involved with a team. Now, once you have a team, someone that is going to take other parts and people that you know you can rely on, and people that you know can be accountable. And I want to make sure I'm clear when I say a team. You don't have to form an LLC off the bat, people. All right. You want people who you know are committed and are willing and ready to go to work and really kind of make this thing happen. They want it as bad as you want it, and they're willing to hold you accountable the same way you're willing to hold them accountable. That's a team, right? That's how you know you got a good group around you. And then the third step, I think, in the ABCs of getting into multifamily is learning how to do napkin underwriting. Napkin underwriting is important. I think it's the first stage of underwriting. I would say there's probably 3 or 4 levels after napkin underwriting. And if you really are looking to get started in multifamily, you want to do this part. You want to at least this is the minimum. Okay, this is the how you know you deserve to get into this party is you gotta be able to do napkin underwriting. Because I don't know anybody, and I know there's some leaders that's in here. I don't know anyone that is doing multifamily deals that you can just be like, hey, I got a deal, and just send them the address and not do any work. All right. Like, how do you know if you're really, really good at what you do? Is not only do you do the napkin underwriting, but you also are you yourself or your team that you're working with, you take it through your second, maybe even third, sometimes even 4 different levels of underwriting. Not only that, you've built the relationship with the broker and or the seller. You've ironed out all the details and created a business plan, and you present all of that as a package to your projected partner. So someone that is going to be able to come in and essentially bringing the money and the expertise to the deal because you already took care of the everything else. They can bring their team, their capital, and now you can do one or two things. You can either sell them the opportunity, you can get paid an acquisition fee or something like that, or you can partner with them. Granted, you might get the short end of the stick. Just keeping it 100. If this is your first deal, there's the large percent that you're going to get the short end of the stick. And you have to understand that's because you're not putting anything into this. You did a lot of work, absolutely. But let's talk about it from the standpoint of how much risk is involved and how much capital are you putting in there. If your name is not attached, if your capital is not going to be attached, then why do you deserve 50%? That's how some of these individuals look at it, and they should. I mean, they're not putting in 50, 20, 100,000 or something like that. They're putting in millions of dollars, or they're bringing in their private money team, private money lenders, private money investors who believe in them, and they're going to put their name up and say, yes, I'm down for it. So they want to be able to be in control of how this deal works, even though you did all of the preliminary work. So you may end up getting a short end of the stick, but I want you to understand that's not a bad thing. This is why I don't believe someone's brand new and don't have any other income coming in should just jump straight into multifamily. Unless you might be like in your 20s and you like got no other responsibilities and you can do this all day long without no issues, then by all means, cool. You should rock this out. You should go hard, right? But if that's not you, then you want to make sure that you are not relying so much on multifamily and its benefit, like its wins, that when you don't get a win, you're now in an extremely stressful situation. You don't want that. Okay. And so you want to make sure that you're kind of going through these things. And again, so this is why napkin underwriting is the most important part that you need to get started with. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to first kind of open it up to everyone. I want to see first of all, how's everybody doing? I want to see if anyone here has used the napkin underwriting spreadsheet or any other underwriting spreadsheet that they maybe have. There's a bunch of them. I don't want you guys thinking you have to use this spreadsheet. There's a bunch of them. And I want to be able to just see like, hey, what are some successes that you've had, right? Like we got to do a better job patting ourselves on the back. If you got a deal from a broker or from a seller and you put it through a underwriting on your spreadsheet, even if you didn't understand what it actually meant at the end of it, right? You're like, okay, I did what they said. I still don't know what the hell's happening, right? Doesn't matter. You've done more than someone else who is right now looking on the internet, wanting to get into multifamily, but will never take the steps to actually do it. So I just want to open it up here. If you have, just say, I got a win. If you want to say what that win is, cool. If not, no problem. But just say, I got a win this week, and we'll jump on to our next stage, next part. All right, let's get it started. Don't make me unmute y'all, because I'll just start unmuting and hear all your background noise without you getting a chance to tell people you on live. All right. Let me see who I know here is putting in work. I know Mike be putting in work. Mike, it look like you got the game on back there. What you got playing back there, bro?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Mike here?
Yeah.
That's my wife. She's watching something on Netflix.
It's cool. You can say if you watching something on Netflix, bro. You don't got. How was the week, man? Tell me a win that you had, because I know you were putting in work this week.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm working with one of the challenge groups, and I'm helping them out with underwriting. We got to look at I think it was three or four deals that we looked at pretty closely, and I actually used your guys' Napkin underwriting was super helpful because it's my first time kind of getting into it.
That's good.
It was super straightforward. And one of them actually looked like it might have some potential, so we're starting to go a little bit deeper into the weeds and seeing what we got. But I mean, that's as far as we've gotten right now. But it's kind of my first action step into this, so I definitely I consider that a win for sure.
Nice. There you go, man.
Appreciate
Matter of
it.
fact, if you got your cameras on, just clap it up for Mike, because that's big right there, right?
Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
I promise you, Mike, in 3 months from now, you'll look back and be like, man, I can't believe how I thought that was a big win. Look at me now, right? Look at the craziness I'm doing now. No, dude, it's you, right? All we can do is give you guys the education, spend that time with you. But after the Zoom goes off, right? It's you, right? It's Leo, it's Michelle, Larry, it's you guys going on back and looking at it and putting into work, just like we have to do, right? So definitely kudos to you on that.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, so I want to do somebody else, but I see my team's hitting me in the back like, yo, come on, bro, I got this deal. I want to I want to underwrite. So we'll jump into it. First and foremost, let's open up. Is there anyone here that has a deal that they wanted us to run through? And just to make sure we're clear, you do not have to give us an address if you feel like you don't want other people to get your deal, even though I do not believe that that's how multifamily works at all. It's a different beast in itself. But if you have a deal, just let us know and we'll ask you for the information that we need and we'll underwrite it for you. If not, we will underwrite one of the deals that we have because we're already ready to rock with it. So let's see what we got. So open it up.
Yo, Eddie, I don't have anything. I got a quick question.
What's good? What's good?
Wait. Dad. The question is, the underwriting, the napkin underwriting that you have.
Yeah.
Just put. You want us to just put the information in there and submit it to you, or do you want us to do the underwriting first, the basic underwriting first, and then put it in there, or if we see something that looks good, just put it in there and then send it to y'all like that?
Yeah. So let me kind of show you.
I can jump in real quick on this one too if you want, Eddie.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a good question because, for example, actually, Eddie and I had this conversation
just today.
this week.
It was this morning.
Yeah, about the underwriting. He emailed me one that he put it through this and said we're far off. And I was like, I agree, 100%. I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, 100%, I agree.
Hold on. Let me give some context. When I say far off, they were asking 31 and we were at like 20. All right. So it wasn't like we were far off by like 5 Like it was a significant difference of 10 million or more that we were fall off.
And yeah, exactly. So, and this is what the beauty of the background we have with creative, and this is the one thing that with seller financing, when you're subtooling a deal, again, Eddie can explain this better than I can. But when you're subtooling a single family, does it affect your offer price? 1,000,000%. We know that, right? Now imagine how much substantially affects you when those percentages are magnified in the million. Because 1% of 400,000 is not that big of a deal on the interest. Like, sure, it affects it, don't get me wrong, but now imagine what it does to 40 million. All of a sudden, that 1% interest rate is monumental, right? One thing with the napkin underwriting, and this is something that there isn't a right system that's not going to confuse everyone with napkin underwriting that I can just give you guys and say, this is the end all be all, you know how to use this. Because at that point, you're not napkin underwriting. It defeats the purpose. You're having a full course meal, to use Eddie's analogy, you know? So when you are looking at this, for example, the napkin underwriting sheet, if your numbers are off, but you know that there is a assumable, you know there's a seller financing involved, or you think that the seller might entertain it, I don't, at that point, yes, it does deserve a second look. But what it does do is tell you at the current price, and you can have this conversation without even showing it to us. This is the power of knowing how to underwrite. Like Eddie was saying, like, if you don't know how to underwrite, how do you know to relate to the broker? Most of the time, the second or third phone call with a broker, I'm going to be the one talking. Eddie and Sam, they introduce it, they start the conversation, they're like, Ed, take over. Because if I'm the one underwriting, I need to know what I'm talking about, and I know what I need to find out and ask, and the conversation is between me and the broker at that point. Eddie and Daniel at that point are listening in, obviously. They know what's going on. But if they don't have the full story and full picture, me explaining to them and then explaining to the broker why we're playing telephone. We're on the same team, you know? I trust them, they set it up for me, they trust me to ask the questions, and then they take it over again. But they're there because they have to explain the deal. You know, that's why it's so important. I think in order to get into multifamily, I agree with everything Eddie said earlier. Run people around you. Like this isn't so, like it's like I'm not gonna go join the NBA with 4 of my friends. One, we're all way too short, and it's probably not effective. Like it's not happening. You know, it's like it's not actually complete soccer again. Like I'm not in my prime. I'm sorry, it's not happening. Like I'll coach. That's about it. But
so Michelle crack it up. She's like, yeah, you can't. You're not doing it.
Factors that can say lower that gap if the offer doesn't look like it's where you need it to be. Got you. All right.
So let me show you what that looks like, right? So if you come here, I think this is actually the numbers to the original deal. So you see, I didn't even add in the other stuff yet because I typically go by what's bolded first, right? And the reason why is because I want to see, one, if there's a value add upside. Now, that's our strategy. We solely focus on value add. And I just recommend that as well. But there's different avenues, different ways and reasons why you buy multifamily. And there's people who would invest for all those different ways. We won't go over that tonight for the sake of time, but I do want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. So first thing I do is I look for upside. If there's at least $1 million of upside, then I'm interested because this upside is only figuring through the rent spread. So if the spread right here, for example, doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it's actually 235 units. Just in 235 units, if we get the rest of these units up to what the market rent is, that's $3.7 million that we just created. Now, for me, all it needs is $1 million. So this right here was already like, oh, this is nice. But then when I look at what their asking price was, compared to what the price of units should be, and if I change it, if I come in here and change this, you guys will see. Wait, hold on, let me make sure it's 20 million. you see how this lights up green now? So this basically lets me know, like, okay, this is what they should be at. Now, what Ed was explaining to you, how that looks visually is, here's where we stop, and this is exactly what we did. So we stopped. I reached back out to the team, which was Ed and our other underwriters. We have Kyle. We have who is it? Ed, Kyle, and Hunter that are underwriting. I reached out, and this deal actually belongs to a killer acquisition guy that we have named Jaquel, who also knows how to underwrite. And I say, hey, listen, this is a no-go just because of the price right now. But if there's an assumable loan, which there was, and that assumable loan is not due in a very short period of time. So what does that mean? I think Ed, when he schooled me on it this morning, he said it has to be at least 2 years or older, or 2 years or longer. So essentially, the loan can't get called due to at least 2025 minimum. In addition to that, there's also there's no things involved that could say prepayment penalties or things of that nature. So it goes down the rabbit hole. But the point I'm trying to prove is I spoke with Jaquel. He said, Bet, listen, I got it. He's reached out to the broker. He confirmed about, is the loan assumable. He also found out if the seller was willing to take any seller carryback, which is basically subject to, or what you would call, not subject to, sorry, it's what you would call owner financing on the single family side. And then he found out, is there any wiggle room in that price? Right? You asking 31 million, we're not quite there. Is there any wiggle room? Now, a broker might be like, no, there's no wiggle room, just for, and I want you guys to understand, from me, you have the license to say, okay, can you explain to me how'd you come up with that 31 million for the price? Because you're saying that basically, if we did this math, right? I don't know where my calculator just went. If we did the math of 235, in fact, somebody do that for me. I don't know where my calculator is, but if you do 230, I'm sorry, 31 million. 31 million divided by 235 doors. What does that come up to?
132,000 basically.
All right, so basically they're asking for 132,000 per, wait, Mike said 130. Oh, okay. All right, so yeah. So basically they're asking for 132,000 per door. It's okay to ask a seller, hey, how'd you get to 132,000 per door? And say it just like that, because then you're speaking their language. Brokers like to talk in terms of doors. They like to talk in terms of whisper price. The fact, you don't, like, if you want to ask, hey, how long did the seller have this property? You would say, when was the last time this property was traded? It's all about learning the lingo, right? You got to learn the language. You got to learn the vibe and the energy that flows in multifamily if you want to get respected by these brokers. Because if they can smell that single family vibe from you, then they're going to disrespect you. They're going to think you don't belong here. You don't deserve to belong here. Now here you come trying to roll up in my space. Right? It's the honest to God truth. That's how some of these brokers act. And so you got to make sure that you are up on your, it's like no different from if you decide to go to Paris for a month and you're like, man, I don't know what's wrong with everybody. They don't want to learn how to speak English. What? No, learn how to speak French. Like, you're in Paris. You should probably learn a word, or minimum have Google Translator on your phone so that you can be able to essentially, use the internet to try to speak better French, right? So that's how you want to do it. So again, if this number is off and you see this turn red, and you realize that's because they're asking way too much per door, they're asking way too much on that whisper price, find out what those other things are, and then you can be able to proceed. And what you would do is, once they give you that detail, you'd come in You fill out the rest of this stuff here. You fill out this stuff here, which we go over and show you where to find it. Then you hit submit form, right? Once you hit submit form, you come here. And one of the things I would tell you guys to do is go ahead and download this, right? You want to put the address of the property here. All right, so let me just do an example. 123 Multifamily Street Way Drive. All right, in Georgia. Boom. And then what I want to do is come out here. I want to hit save or download, whichever one your computer want to do.
Also do print, which works too.
You could do print as well. And then when you come in here, you want to put your information, obviously, because you want to make sure that you are going to be able to get called. We are going to reach back out to you within 24 to 48 hours. And what's going to happen is you're going to fill out all this detail here. And then here you want to put this, what you just printed out. I'm going to put that in there. And then it's just a little bit more detailed information from all the data that you already have. And then you want to hit submit. And what happens is someone from the underwriting team, so it'd either be Ed, it'd be Hunter, or it'd be Kyle, will reach out to you and they'll hit you up with a Zoom and be like, hey, look, let's go over your deal. And we'll have this up. And then they'll also will have the next level, which is what we call elevated underwriting. So they're going to take this and dive deeper and they're going to go over it with you. That's the point that we're trying to make. They're going to go over what the next stage is going to look like. So now, not only you're learning, and not only we're going to say, hey, all right, look, if this is going to be a deal, this is what we think you should do. Boom, 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 boom. Can you get on the phone with the broker? Can you get on the phone with the seller? We'll back you up. And now we're moving along the way. Now, one of the benefits that we're doing is for individuals who are constantly using this and showing us that, like, look, I really want to learn multifamily. I'm really serious about this. What we're doing is, as the underwriting team is realizing, like, hey, look, they're consistent. You know, this is like their third, fourth, fifth, sixth deal that they put it in. They're showing up to these Zooms and they're asking questions. We'll teach you what that next step of the elevated underwriting is. Now, why would we do that? Because we want you to learn. And we also want you to be able to get to the point where eventually you can get a deal, do all of the work all the way up to the business plan. And now when you reach out to us, it's really just to say, hey, listen, I got something I think is fire. Can we work together on this? And we can bring in the capital, we can bring in the KPs and then et cetera, et cetera. And now you're in a solid position to be able to benefit. So with that being said, for those of you, if you don't have the Napkin underwriting, what you can do is you scroll up, actually, Jennifer, if you can put the Facebook group chat in here again. And if you click on it, I will put a link where you can download here. I'll do it right here. Do this, share, copy. And what you want to do as soon as there's the calculator, look at that. What you want to do as soon as you get in there, you want to make yourself a copy so that you can be able to get it. All right. And we'll have that for you. And I'm going to put it at the end of the Zoom because I want you guys to pay attention for right now. So just go along with this. I'm actually going to give the controllers over to Ed. Unless somebody has a deal, I don't think anybody raised their hand. So if you don't have a deal, Ed, I'm going to give you the mic, let you take it away and underwrite one of the deals that we got so we can use it as a really good example. And before the Zoom is over, I will put it in the chat. I'll put it in the Facebook group so that you guys could be able to get access to it. All right, Ed is on you, my guy. Let me know if you could share.
Yeah, I will. I'll need to share.
You should be good now. Is it? Did it let it share?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
You guys can see the screen or not yet?
Not yet. It's coming up. Maybe it might have got stuck. I would stop sharing and then share again. All right. So while we're working on that, I do want to kind of go over. I know a lot of people are getting deals from brokers. So one of the things that I would recommend, like right now, is a really hard time to um, get in contact with a broker, obviously, because of where we're at, right? Just the holidays that we're in. And so what I would recommend that you do instead is connect with brokers by not asking about a deal. Hear what I'm saying. Connect with brokers by not asking about a deal. Hey, bro, we see your screen, but it's showing the Bryn Mawr Apartments.
Yeah, the cap rate, right?
Yep, the inputs performing that one. So yeah, so essentially, Ricky, what up, bro? So essentially, what we're telling you to do is to connect, introduce yourself, and just say happy holidays, right? This is a great time to really make a broker feel great about themselves being a broker. So if I know Larry's a broker, right, I would have done a few things. I would have looked Larry up, see if he has an Instagram or LinkedIn, which he most likely would have. Any type of social media, I'm looking through so I can see him on Facebook with his kids or with his dog or whatever things that I'm like, okay, this is what makes up who Larry is. And then I would try to look to see what deals did Larry do or his company did or his office did. And then I would shoot a message to Larry saying, hey, Larry, you don't know me. I was just reaching out. My name is Eddie Charger. You came highly recommended. And I'm not going to lie, I did some research on you. Loved what you guys did with 3,200 something something apartment building. You seem to be a killer broker. And I can't wait to see how we can work together next year. Larry, I promise you, if you do that, you next year when you reach out, oh, he's sending you a deal ASAP. Or he at least wants to know who you are, right? Because you didn't need or want anything from him. You was purposely, intentfully looking to interact with him or her by just giving value and showing love, showing appreciation. A lot of times we think these brokers get enough because they're getting paid to do their job, but it doesn't take anything away from making somebody feel really, really good about themselves too. Right? So that was just my filler talk while Ed got his computer together. Ed, I'll let you take it away.
Cool. So this is actually that same deal. This is a point I wanted to make. Initially, we were at 20 million on the napkin. Actually, it was closer to 17. But once we input the assumable loan, and yes, in this scenario, there is a seller carryback, and I'll get into it. You see that 27 million is not out of the question. It's a big difference it makes when there's different factors involved. Now, do I know if this person, seller is interested in selling carryback? No, but I tell this to every single broker so that they understand my intentions. Anyone I talk to, I say, even if they're not interested, I'm gonna offer it because you never know how someone's gonna react when they see what you propose. Because they just assume they have this connotation or the decisions made in their mind that they're gonna say no to this. Whether it might be the better scenario for them. They don't, and they just don't know it, right? So I will always offer it. Now, even if I don't offer it, we went from 20 or 17 million So if I simply change this and no seller carry, and it's strictly a traditional, which, let's be honest, one thing I don't want to lose anyone, but one thing you have to be aware of when there's an assumable loan involved, you have to know what percentage of the loan is of the purchase price. So for example, for this one, the loan amount, the assumable loan is 11.6. The purchase price, I have it at 27 right now. That's only 43%. If you're doing a traditional purchase, the buyer, in this case you or whoever you're trying to sell to, if you're trying to wholesale it, that is responsible for the remaining 57. That's a lot of down payment on one property. Okay? So if I'm doing that, I can. I'm not saying I never will, but the reward has to be worth it, which is, what's my cash flow gonna look like? What am I gonna make with that large amount of capital invested? At 24, I consider it, and this is a lot of what underwriting too. Underwriting is involved. You're playing around with the numbers, trying to see what'll work. I can guess and say, oh, maybe this will work, maybe that will work, but once I adjust this, I'm like, okay, 9% cash on cash on something of this size, I'll do it. Now, if they say they would need more, cool, we can do it. We just want to sell carry back. Another thing that's really important that can really throw this out of whack is knowing if an interest is, the loan is interest only or not. I know we've talked about this before, but I want to make it clear where there's a massive difference. And as Eddie was mentioning earlier, there's so many different factors in the loan that can affect your numbers. One is the term. For example, this one, it doesn't mature until 2028. In 6 years, either we did something really wrong, like we have someone up to it, or the world's on fire. In 6 years, I'm confident we can refinance and pay that money back for the loan, so we're not negative. Because sure, the loan, the value, amount of the loan is not a lot. 50% of the deal is not a lot. You can refi that out very easily, even if you didn't change anything. What you have to worry about though is your capital going to cost the same. Mm-hmm. I'll make sure that makes sense, because cash flow, cash on cash, all these numbers are reflective and impacted by a cost of capital. If I say, hey Eddie, can I borrow $100? He's like, yeah, sure, and he doesn't make me pay any interest or owe him or pay him back $115 or $150. It's good for me. Like I'll give it to you $100 tomorrow. But if I say, hey, Mike, can I borrow $100? He's like, yeah, but I want $200 in a week. I'm like, never mind. I'm okay. It's not enough time for me to be like, oh, that's worth it. Right? Now, if you say, hey, I want $200 in 2 years, I'm like, okay, maybe I can. It might be worth it if I need that 100, right? It's the same concept. Because you are borrowing at today's interest rate, but you also have to pay back at a higher interest rate or unknown interest rate. It might be lower, who knows, right? And I think that's another interesting thing in our LOI is we always try to put a buffer or contingency where interest rates have to be lower than X number for us to refinance our seller. So if I borrow money from Eddie, I'm like, sure, but I need to go borrow that money back from someone else in order to pay you. And until they give me a rate lower than X amount, I'm not paying you back. I don't care how long it takes. And is that to the seller's best interest? Probably not. But am I paying them the price that they want? Yes. And do I give them incentive? It's not just, oh, sorry, you're out of luck. It's, hey, I'll pay you an extra X%. I'll give you a little more. Yes, exactly.
Now let me say something too. When he mentioned that, is it in the seller's best interest? And I know exactly what he meant by that. I want to kind of point it out that we're coming into a time frame where a lot of sellers are going to have to do something that is not in their best interest. understand that sellers brought property for a really high price 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, even. And they thought that the train was going to keep on trekking. And unfortunately, life happened as it do. As an investor, it's what happens. And so now they're in a position where they have to figure out how can we pay back so much money so quickly, even though we're not at the point in time where we're ready to do so. So having someone come in and, make an offer creatively that can benefit them, but it's not going to be in their best interest is is what they're willing to go after. Like they're okay with it, even though it's not in their best interest, because what's the other option? The other option is to be losing money. And what's rule number one in multifamily investing? Don't ever lose money. Can it happen? Yes. But that's rule number one. Rule number two is never forget rule number one, right? And so that's how you really want to operate it. So very good point there.
Yeah, and remember as well, that's one component of the deal, of the offer. There's so many others: the interest, the amount you're paying monthly if you are, the price, the terms, the length of the balloon. These are all different factors. And again, this will be more on like the broker stuff, but the one thing to remember, all the numbers that you put into your underwriting, whether it's a napkin, whether it's this, whether it's me explaining this to anyone, you always want to be able to put it in perspective, because they're investors too. They didn't wake up and stumble upon a 235 unit property that's worth 30 million, 25 million dollars, whatever we end up offering on this. You don't stumble upon that. And as Eddie said, it's an investment that they have a return on. So the same way mentality that we have approaching into this deal is how they got that deal. They just did it more traditionally than we did. So one thing I will tell every seller is, look, I don't put this in place to make it difficult for anyone. Like, that contingency is there so I sleep better at night. And then once, it's the same reason why they're going to take your offer over someone else's, is because they're guaranteed X dollar amount by X time frame. So they're going to make more money. You're the highest offer. So they're sleeping better at night, knowing that they're able to get every dollar out of this building that they didn't think they even could at one point. So put it in perspective, and that'll really open up the seller's eyes, the broker's eyes, and be upfront. Like, hey, if X happens, let's say in 3-4 years, and interest rates are 10%, hypothetically. I obviously don't think so, but you never know. And I'm like, I cannot go under because I promise you X on this. I'd rather under promise and over deliver than vice versa. Because you still have invested, you're responsible for it. And if you tell them, hey, in 3 years, we're refinancing and we're under, good luck. On the property this side, you're kind of screwed. For lack of a better way to put it. So to tie it all into the underwriting, one thing that's important is really understanding how many different factors are involved with all the different offers you're making or can offer. And also just being very aware of how that impacts the deal, whether it's fixed interest or not, whether it's interest only payments or interest in principal, whether it's amortized 30 years, 25 years, or 20 years. When is it mature? Does it convert from a interest only to an interest in principal? Like Eddie and I were looking at a deal where after a certain date, your mortgage increased $50,000 a month. If you don't account for that and are aware of that, that's it. Like you miscalculate 50,000. That's a large amount. To be like, oops, sorry, didn't see it. You gotta prepare for that. Do you use the cash flow to pay the investors? So, Sean, yes, that is based on what incentive you're giving your investors. I've seen it done multiple ways. The more people I talk to, the more common it is that they do it's given through an equity split. So what equity split means is after all your costs, you have your cash flow. Your split then is reflected off of that cash flow. So off of the profits essentially. So in this scenario, if you were to do, let's say, 80% invested, 20% to the GP or the team, they will get 80% of the cash flow after all costs, which includes mortgage expenses, with the operating expense. It includes your rehab. It includes any maintenance and repairs, and it also includes your seller carry payments. Remember, yes, that's not you treat it as a mortgage. At the end of the day, your cash flow percentage is based off of the final number. Investors don't get on the front end. The reason I say that is because preferred return, which is this tab right here, which you see is at 0, this means they get that interest rate up front. It doesn't matter what the expenses are, doesn't matter what your mortgage is, none of that matters. Preferred return is I get this first in, and whatever happens after that's not my problem. Another thing that there is depreciation plus equity. So depreciation is, and I have a full zoom on that to be honest, but depreciation is, especially for high earners, and why high earning individuals in like lawyers, doctors, anyone who makes multiple six figures in a W-2, where you don't really have many ways to get at, to write things off essentially, you're kind of stuck paying the taxes. The depreciation is going to allow them to write off a large portion of their taxes while having this investment in real estate, which is why so many of those professionals love doing stuff like this, is investing in real estate. Not only the returns, but the depreciation. So that's something that you can also leverage that we'll get into more on another day, is the depreciation. Because most of us might not need that depreciation or need as much of it as someone else will. Because we're going to have different ways to take care of the depreciation. Where someone that's a lawyer, you don't have that many different options. You have like 2, and this is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just kind of a few scenarios, and we can go into the LOI another time as well. So definitely, those are a lot of things to factor in. As Daniel said, most of a lawyer and any of these people that gain your investors that you're raising money from will have an accountant or tax advisor. If they don't, then yeah, you 100% tell them like, hey, find someone you trust or hire one just to look over everything. And regardless, I think you should do that with every investor anyway, to make sure your documents are all aligned and everyone's on the same page, so there's no surprises. Yeah. The last thing you want is on the 12th hour, all your investors are backing out because, surprise, they just read the documents.
Yeah.
So the last thing.
All right. So, Ed, do you have a deal ready to go, or do you want me to pull one up?
If you want to do it from scratch, yeah, we can.
All right, I got some numbers for you. So this is going to be a typical one. A lot of times people are like, oh yeah, 100 units and et cetera. But we'll do one that I got here. It's 48 units. We'll start it using the Napkin spreadsheet, and then I'll grab the details that you need from that one. Let me know when you're ready.
So we'll do Napkin first?
Yeah, we'll do a Napkin first. All right, so now, as typical fashion, a lot of times when you guys get information from the broker or seller or wholesaler, you're not going to get all of the detail in one email. If you do, cherish that relationship, right? Build that relationship. Sometimes you'll find a broker who understands creative financing very well or understands how to think outside the box. Again, cherish those relationships. Not all brokers are created equal. The same way not all investors are created equal, right? So let's jump into what we have here. So rent rolls. So this is a 48 unit. Let me actually open up the spreadsheet, make it better. All right, so we got a 48 unit. The average rent, now this is the first time I'm looking at it because I didn't want to jinx myself. So we're looking at, all right, so market rent is 1,100 and average rent is 550. This is occupied 97.92. And we currently don't know what the CapEx rehab is yet. I can try to see if they sent that, but I don't think they did. It is a Class B in the zip code. This is St. Louis. So I don't know what the market cap rate is. We have to look that up. So if you click that little blue link right there to the side, you can actually search to see where you want to get this. In fact, this is what I mean about having a team in a community. Like I find out about this website here through one of the Elephant Challenge groups that we're in with Rob, Justin, and them guys over there. So we see it is a 7.5. Now the asking is 2.4 million. And of course, you have the amazing plus 3%. Now, when I'm underwriting this, I don't pay attention to that right now. I just pay attention to what the asking is. Now, the seller is open to financing with $1.2 million down. That's the details that we got. Total total, hold on. Repair. Okay, I thought they was going to give us CapEx here. All right, so we got a NOI of 218,653. So the revenue that was brought in was 290, and we see ours is higher. So I want to make sure we have that down pat. You got that?
What was their income?
Income was 290, 990, 290,990.
And their NOI?
Their NOI was, well, they have the total expenses. I can give you that if you need it up front. But the NOI was 218,653.
Yes, it is the expense ratio.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
All right. So, and then I have, let's see, is this, and that's it. So they literally sent me spreadsheet for the rent rolls, a screenshot of the profit and loss statement. So I don't even have the full T12. I can't even break that down yet. And then they sent over, believe it or not, a JPEG of a picture of the front of the property. So sometimes this is what you get, right? Now, should we proceed with this? Yeah, why not? We already got it. It won't take us that long. We got this calculator here. Let's run it. But if you really wanted to, you could just go back and tell the broker, hey, can you send me a T12? Can you send me X, Y, and Z, and et cetera? All right. So off rip right now, let's look at what we got. Can you pan back over on the napkin real quick? I'm gonna just slide over to the right while you're working the other calculator. Oh no, you could have just slide over. All right. So the value add we see is huge. It's huge here. All right. It's $4.2 million value add. Now, again, this isn't the end all be all. I don't want you guys to look at the value add and be like, oh, mama, we got a gold mine, right? It depends on the location, right? If it just depends on so many factors, but it's a good thing to be able to say like, all right, yeah, let's look at this, right? And then now we see the valuation is at 1.9, but you see Ed went into one of his other spreadsheets that he's going to do, and that's because he wants to be able to see how that seller financing, the seller carry of 1.2 is actually involved in the deal. And so I'll let him walk you through his thought process here. So Ed, walk us through, what you're putting in and why you're putting it there and trying to figure out like what makes sense.
So.
Oh, you know what? Even better, Ed. Pretend like I sent you this deal, I submitted it, and this is you now getting back to me. So walk us through it like you like all of us on the team.
So, like I said, I ideally would do this with you on a Zoom, because me just doing this and telling you is not going to help anyone. Because you guys can see everything and we've gone through this. This is exactly how I start and why it's set up this way. If you notice, the order is the same because that was done intentionally. I have my current rents. So I have my current rents. I have my pro forma rent. CapEx, as you mentioned, we're not sure. I'll put 3,000 just in case. If it's high, great. If it's low, then that's new information that's made available to us, and we'll find that out during our due diligence anyway, and then we renegotiate because it's new information. So don't be afraid to still submit something without having everything covered. There's so many factors that if I don't know X, Y, and Z, or if a lot of brokers don't even talk to me without saying an LOI. I'll send an LOI. As long as I get to talk to a broker and I can get the information and ask the right questions, then I can solidify my numbers because my LOI has 3 parts anyway. No LOI is being signed if there's 3 offers on it. So off the jump, I have leverage, right? Number of units, very straightforward. Expense ratio, I put at 45, 47. I usually shoot high. For example, Eddie said he had the number. I'll put at 50, And then if I find out later it's actually lower, okay, cool. I'll talk to the broker. I'll figure that out. I'll be like, oh, why is it 40, let's say? Why is it 35%? If it's at 55, why is it at 55? So you just want to get the questions going. Occupancy was 98, right? And purchase was 2.4. They're willing to carry 1.2. So we would do 1.2. Now, so I have basically most of the information, if not all, that I could use. Do we know what the interest rate the seller would be looking for or no?
No, we don't know.
So
what happens on that? Do we just stop since we don't know, or what do we do?
So here's the great part about it. If a seller is ever going to offer seller carry, and I'm doing my underwriting, I'm going to put at 6% interest. I'm going to go pretty okay, maybe I personally wouldn't offer this number ever, but it's like, hey, what would be the worst case scenario? If they're offering more than 6%, I'll just go get a loan. This doesn't make sense, right? And you tell the broker that. Like, if they come back and say the seller wants market rate for rent or interest, okay, cool. I'm going to get a loan. I'm going to offer you less. If you actually want to do the seller carry appropriately, we're going to offer you 4% or 3%, which is the ballpark I usually play around. But I'm going to underwrite it at 6%. Why? So I want to give myself enough of a buffer where if they come back and they offer 4 or 5, I can say, sure, I know it works at 6, so I know it's going to work at everything under that. At the end of the day, we want to make the numbers work, but when you're playing with millions of dollars, you don't want to make it work because you're emotionally attached to the building, or you love the idea of getting a deal. I'm really trying to make it not work. And then if it passes all my tests, all right, we're good. Let's submit an offer. Let's open escrow. Let's put the earnest money. But we want to do creative, right? So I have my equity raised down. and that includes my rehab. So that's why this number is not the direct 50% of this. That's one thing that's very easy to forget. When you calculate your cash on cash, your equity raise, and you're doing all this is a 2.4. It's not that much money. But when you're doing it on, let's say, $15, $20 million property, if you don't factor your rehab into your equity raise, into your cash on cash, your numbers are going to look way off, and they're going to look very inflated. So why I said put the 3,000 per unit just in case is I'd rather have a buffer or something in there than nothing at all. Having nothing, unlikely. There's always going to be something. Imagine the house you live in. You didn't buy it and say, or you don't live in it and you're like, everything's perfect, I wouldn't change a thing. It's very unlikely. Now imagine how it is on an investment property where someone hasn't been living there that's doing the work every day. Same idea. It's unlikely everything's perfect. So assume there's going to be some capex. And that affects your cash on cash, which is something we look at. Like these numbers are important.
Now really quick, just because I know sometimes we may have somebody that's just joining, and they're like, okay, I'm catching everything until he said CapEx, and I thought he mentioned Captain America or something. I'm not sure. So CapEx is what?
CapEx is your capital expenditure, and what that means is what is my rehab budget? And rehab is simple in the single family space. How much is it going to cost me to flip the unit? Is the best way to explain it. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, in order to get market rents, you have to bring the property and unit up to market standards. And there's a good chance if you're at 50% of the market rents, you're not at market standard. It's just not likely. Yeah. So now I'm happy you asked that, because one thing you have to factor in as well is if we're at 50% of the rents, regardless if you've had the perfect tenant and they haven't broken anything and everything's perfect and there weren't pets in there and everything was done on time, your CapEx is most likely going to be more than $3,000. If your rents are half, you kind of, like, what do you think the unit's going to look like? It's not going to be the most up to date, okay? So I would probably budget $7,000, and the location does matter. So if it's LA, $7,000 will get you a cabinet. If it's in the Midwest, it'll be a little more. And in some places, I've seen a full unit turnover for $7,000. So that's important as well. And we're going to mention this a lot, where knowing your market, having resources, and having boots on the ground. The worst time to look for a general contractor or someone to do your rehab is when you're already in escrow. That's too late. Because now you're trying to renegotiate something because you didn't budget appropriately. You want to have those pieces in place so when they do look at it, they can give you a fairly accurate number, like, hey, it'll cost you $340,000. Well, what if they come back and tell you it's going to cost you $500,000? But you're not ready for that. If you're raising capital, the worst thing you can do is turn around and say, hey, you guys, we need more capital. Because guess whose equity is coming out of? It's not coming out of investors. They got what they're promised. You promised them X, and you have to deliver on that. It's coming out of your equity.
Yep.
If I raise money and I'm short $150,000 to the rehab, I can't go to the same people and say, hey, can I have more money because I screwed up? No, you raise more money, now it's coming out of your equity. So you can't touch their equity. Their equity's locked in.
Yeah.
So if it's 80, I went to now 85, and now I have 15 if I'm lucky.
So again, CapEx is the easiest way to think about it. Is CapEx is what I would be spending that I typically won't be spending every year or every month, right? Capital expenditures are different from your expenses. So your expenses is what you're normally going to spend every month, right? CapEx is like, we had to do the roof on the multifamily. That goes into the CapEx box. That would not be classified as your expenses because that's something that you're spending money on, but it's a once in a while type of thing, not a regular reoccurring basis.
So what Eddie's referring to is in the T12, which is your trailing 12. If anyone's not sure what that is, please ask me in the chat, and we'll help you with that. You're gonna see a maintenance and repairs line. That has nothing to do with this, because a lot of brokers, especially when they have it in the OM, the offering memorandum, they're gonna say $500,000 capex spent. That has nothing to do with repairs. You can spend $500,000 on capex and still have a bad roof. You can have $500,000 spent and one of your units wasn't turned. Or like your repairs are bad, for example, whatever the case is, if you're being a property. So keep in mind the difference, and I'm happy Eddie brought it up because capex is not repairs. It's like me flipping a house, but I messed up one of the pipes. Now that's a repair. It's not capex.
All right. There's something I was going to add to that. Okay, so what's your assessment on this deal? What do you think?
I personally like this one, and the big reason is that the day one cash on cash is good, and the reason why I say it's good and not amazing or great is, think about it. If you're gonna have to do rehab on a property or on units, you're losing the rent during that time. You want to have a buffer there. So obviously, the higher the day one is, the better, because it gives me more of a buffer for when I have to remove these tenants. This is a solid buffer. So I'm like, okay, even if we lose a little bit when we have to do the rehab, we're not completely underwater and drowning. The upside though is amazing. 17% cash on cash, phenomenal. It's a very good number. I was cautious with my sell carry. When the number's that high, I would even play around with it with the rehab and say, what happens if it's 15 a door? It still looks good. But off the jump, I don't have to really do much else. I would say I like this deal a lot.
All right. So what would have to happen now is this is when Ed would say, hey, let's get back on the phone with your broker or seller or whoever it is so we can get drilled down information on some of the key pieces that did not get sent over. And also so we can find a little bit more about what the interest rates are. What were the repair costs? You know, why is it 50% not occupied? Like what happened there, right? Get those details, because essentially the mindset that I want you guys to have is, this is gonna sound weird, but I want you to always assume somebody is lying or somebody's hiding something. When you're underwriting, that's how you want to go about it. So they give you a bunch of information, you're going through it all, and then you'll be able to see, okay, the numbers are telling me that this is okay. It sounds like it's a good deal, but there's missing pieces of information here. All right, let's get back on the phone. Hey, why is this like that? Why is this like that? Why is this like that? And the way that you can know, like, hey, am I asking enough questions or am I being a little bit too thorough? Imagine if you were going to put down $2.4 million of your own money. How many questions would you ask them? Right? If you had to stroke that check by yourself, how many questions, how much due diligence in this beginning phase would you go through in order to make sure that this would be a good investment? Because that's essentially how you have to think about it when you're going through these deals.
I think one more test to that is not only if it's your own money, but if you have to ask someone, hey, are you interested in investing in this property that I've done the due diligence for, I've done the underwriting for, I've talked to the broker, I've negotiated, I'm going to close the escrow, I'm going to get it from point A to point B, I'm going to have a 5-year plan of purchase, rehab, refinance, pay you back, do all this stuff, and you're using someone else's money. Are you confident to pitch that, knowing that everything you're promising is reliant on that building? Now, if you think of it, if I came to you guys, I said, hey, I have this wonderful deal, I need to raise 1.2 million. I asked for 500 from each of you, which is ironically enough. But and you guys start asking questions, and I don't have the confidence in it, or you're asking questions and I don't have answers to it. Sure, I'm not gonna know everything. If I don't know anything, that's really bad. Like, I'm asking for $500,000, right? So another thing with that, in regards to when you're underwriting and talking to brokers, you also really want to be careful with pro forma. Someone just mentioned in the chat actually, underwrite conservatively. Yes, because they told us 11. Okay, what happens if you back me 900? I still like it. I don't love it as much as I did before, but I still do it, and I have a $200 buffer there. That's a lot. When you're talking about 1100 to 900, it's a big difference per unit. But if it works, then everything above that just carry on top. Any questions on? Obviously, this calculator is wacky and a lot of factors to it. But any questions in regards to like things to look out for? Questions you might have to during that, like common questions to ask for a broker after underwriting. Is there anything that you guys may have experienced and you're like, hey, what would you do in this scenario?
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When it comes to the rent, so when it's mixed units, you just get the average of that, and then that's what you plug in there?
Great question. So yes, but there's obviously there's a but in this. Yes, but be careful with commercial because of how long their leases are. Like for example, Eddie, we're looking at that one deal where for 10 years you couldn't do anything but what was agreed on the lease, and they only had one small increase during the life of 10 years. And you can't do anything. You can't even walk into a part of the building they're not using without their permission. So that's when, if any kind of commercials involved, yes, you want to calculate it the same way in regards to my current rent per unit and pro forma market rent per unit. So this 550 and 900 number, because they're all both to the same place, your gross rental income. So in that sense, yes, rent is rent. I don't care where it came from. I just, my upside though is, okay, I can't change this to 1100 if that rent isn't changing for 5 years.
Right.
I have to keep in mind, like, hey, I'm not getting a 3% increase like I would a residential unit where every year I just bump it up 3%. Commercial, it's not like that. Unless in the lease it says 3% every year. Sometimes they just say, no, it is what it is for 5 years. So that's one big factor, and I know mixed use is a very interesting. You know, mixed use has a lot of upside to it. Obviously, it's a lot more complicated, and you have to really understand the leases because we're looking at one where it was a CVS. CVS is a big player, obviously. So they're like, oh, we're gonna pay X percentage after we make X dollar amount, but that gets adjusted in a few years to be a higher dollar amount, and it gets complicated. And it's like, can I rely on that income?
So if he just mentioned something that I absolutely look for whenever commercial space is into play. So for those of you who may be a little bit confused, like, wait, I thought commercial space is technically multifamily. Commercial space that we're talking about in the same regard here is retail stores. So you know how sometimes you see some apartment buildings that have like retail stores on the bottom, and then you have or retail stores on the property itself, and then you have like surrounding with multifamily. If you mentioned triple net leases, and essentially triple net leases is you as a landlord just receive one check. All right. The tenant that's renting the commercial space pays for everything: the rent, the lights, the gas, everything. They take care of the building. You don't care about none of that. You just get one check and you go along your merry way. Those are the best. And if you can negotiate or find something that's triple net when you're doing one of these properties, it should be definitely considered as a bonus because it goes directly into the NOI. Now, what Ed is talking about, a deal we was looking at over in Savannah, Nathaniel just reminded me of it. They weren't triple net. They were like, I think it was like they covered both two of the things, but not one. And the one that wasn't CVS wasn't covered for, which basically means the owner would be covered for, would be like the roof and like major fixings that have to take place in the commercial space. So that kind of changes your numbers, even though they had an amazing bonus that got added into there, which was kind of dope. But you got to factor in the fact that, hey, what happens if CVS has a leaking problem and we got to take care of the roof? That's going to come out of what you'd be bringing in on a monthly basis. So definitely good to keep in mind, and very good points, Iffy and Nathaniel, for bringing that up.
And to Iffy's point as well, triple net is you still need, that's where you really want to look into the leases. Like, hey, does it paint the picture and that you're assuming it does? Because the worst thing you could do is enter into a property, or you're in escrow, or you close escrow, and the commercial lease doesn't line up to what you were anticipating. The commercial leases can get very complicated, or especially when you get to those bigger, like the CVS. That lease alone, I'm sure, a lot more pages than I'd like to count up to.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, so here's what I want to do. I wanted us to do one more property. This time we're just going to use the napkin, and we're just going to push in all the details. I got a property here in Houston, so this is going to be a good one that we received, that I want us to kind of just use it as a napkin underwrite. So while we get that settled in, Wanda says, in all acquisitions, know the seller's reason for selling and when the sellers acquired the asset. Oh, and when did the seller acquire the asset? Yep. How much the seller paid for the asset, and how did they arrive at that list price? Having this information early can help you underwrite an LOI. One thou wow is what the kids are saying now, I believe. So one thou wow, Wanda, that is absolutely correct. I love investing, and I love this part of the game because I absolutely love human psychology. And what you're talking about, Rhonda, is being able to understand what was on the seller's mind before they got into the deal, which helps you understand how you can be able to essentially provide what they're looking for, or if you need to or not, right? Just because you have the ability to provide something to the seller doesn't necessarily mean that you need to or you should, if it's going to be to your detriment in the long run. So kudos, very, very good point on that. All right.
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I had this conversation with a broker today who happened to be part of the selling party, and he's like, I was like, hey, would you guys be interested in carrying a portion of this? Because he told me that there are other investors involved. He said, when you pay them back, and I'm like, yeah. So like knowing that, I'm like, listen, I know there's other investors involved. You have to give them their money back. You have to give them a cut and whatnot. What percentage of the property of the entire deal is theirs? Like, how much do you have to pay him back off of the purchase price? He's like, oh, a little over 50%. I'm like, cool. I think now I know, based on his like honesty and being upfront with me and trusting like this valuable information, I know that means we have about 40 to 45% that I can play with and be like, hey, can you carry 20% of that? And he's thinking, and I asked him, like, look, we offer a lot on sell and carry, through assumable debt. And he said, yeah, there's a loan, but it's not assumable. I'm like, okay, that's cool. We can still make something happen. Because now I know what his seller or his investors need. And that's the biggest factor in all this, is knowing how much wiggle room and how much equity you have to play with. So then you know what you can offer on a sell and carry. You know the difference between the assumable loan and the asking price. And like was mentioned in the chat multiple times, is knowing what they want to do next. Like and anytime somebody ever says, I want to do a 1031 exchange, I'm gonna be honest, brokers think that's a cop-out answer and they can get away with it. My favorite question to ask them after that is, are they doing a 1031 exchange? And when I say they, I mean seller. Is the seller doing a 1031 exchange because they have to, or because they want to take on a new project? Those are two very different reasons. One is I enjoy, or I made my money and want to take on another project. You're an investor, cool, we're trying to do the same thing. The other one is, oh no, they want to do it for tax benefits. They don't want to pay the tax. Okay, what if I told you I can give you a return on your money, I can offer you depreciation, and you still don't have to pay your taxes today? Now they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. That's what selling carry is. you now know you can offer, sell, and carry, and check off all the boxes without the headache.
Yeah, super, super fun. Absolutely love it. It's part of the reasons why I got into the space on single family, right? Because you have that ability to be creative and solve problems. I want to show you guys a T12 and a rent rolls really fast for this particular property. And here is one of them here. Now, one of the things that I want you guys to be aware of, and I hope this is helping out, right? I want you guys to be aware of when you're asking for information, make sure that you are one getting updated information. And I say that because a lot of times people will send you information that they pulled the data for and everything like that. And they've been trying to sell the property for 6 months, 7 months, 9 months. So here you are in December, and they're sending you the last time they pulled this was back in March. You know how much changed from March to December? So you may be looking at a lot of information thinking these numbers are up to date and correct, and they're not, right? So again, you want to, I know there's this like point of view where we're like, I'm new, right? I don't know what I don't know, but we are here giving you guys the license to ask for these things and understand that you are doing what needs to be done. I don't care if the broker gets attitude or not. Hey, listen, if you want to make money, you got to work for it. All right. And also, I hope that we're showcasing to you guys that this is much bigger than just getting some apartments that somebody else sent you and then hitting the copy all, control C, and then go to another email and then put control V to paste all of that information and then put my name on there and be like, hey, do you want a JV on a deal? It is much more work that's involved. And this is why you guys are here. You're learning it so that you can take it to the next level. I'm saying that because I want, so what's going to happen is, Brad, Joshua, Amani, Michelle, I know you're going to get this. Iffy, Alex, Wanda, like you guys are going to start to get people is going to start sending you deals because you guys are going to be closing on deals really, really soon. You're going to be part of teams that are closing deals really soon. And so you want to make sure that people are learning how to do this side of the game and they're doing it correctly. So they're not just sending you a forwarding email saying, hey, let's JV. Believe it or not, I have people that send deals and they'll attach 3% to the price. Or I had a friend of mine that was like, hey, yeah, man, I just got this deal. I put my fee on top already. Don't worry. What he didn't even do was at least delete the number that was there before. He put a $1 million fee. So I called him. I was like, dude, what's the original price? He's like, it's 2.6. Like, why'd you send it to me at 3.6? He's like, oh, I just want to make a little bit on top. $1 million is now a little bit. I missed it. I must have missed when that happened. So this is what your rent rolls would look like. Your rent rolls should be typical. I think one of the things that I've learned so far in the multifamily space is that all the accounting is totally different. Like every company, every project manager, everybody has a different spreadsheet to say the same thing, which makes it confusing as all hell. So you got to just learn how to look for it through all these different things, right? If he says commercial brokers charge 0.5 to 1% to 1.5%, 3% finance fee is usually frowned upon by folks in the industry. Absolutely. Absolutely. They don't respect it. I know people that don't even, if they see 3% on there, they don't even open up the email. Like they don't go through it. If you put,
I saw 1% on a $350 million fee or purchase price. I saw 4%. I was like, you're not getting that.
It's tough.
Sorry.
It's tough. The larger it is, the smaller percentages, but it's gonna be up there. So as long as you're willing to do work. Here you see sometimes you see like pest control, you see valet trash.
That's your screen, Eddie.
Oh, you can't. I'm so sorry, guys. You guys are just looking at my beautiful face this whole time and nobody said anything. I mean, I really appreciate it, but I want to get you guys to see this. All right. All right. So here we go. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Good. Good. All right. Thank you for that. So
Can you make it bigger?
I absolutely can. Let's see here. Plus sign. There you go. Let me know when it works. Is that good? Is that good?
Yeah.
All right. I was about to say if we need it bigger than this, and I have to take my glasses off, and I gotta readjust. All right. So these are some key things I kind of want to point out. Remember we talked about value adds, right? In the rent rolls, you can kind of already see what is here in terms of value add. So you see carport, that's already established. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know what this is, but they have a parcel, pen and pay nine, pest control, valet trash. That's typically could be considered a value add sometimes in some places. They already have that. This one has a washer and dryer. Okay, cool. So some units have the washer and dryer hookup. That's dope. Let's see what else. I'm looking for um, pet, right? I don't see anything in pet. This person right here got the whole kit and caboodle, right? They got carport, they got valet trash, they don't have the washer and dryer. But you want to look through the rent roll sometimes, it'll just give you some of these things, right? Some of these features that you could possibly be looking for to add that you can see that's already here or see what's missing, right? If you go through these rent rolls and be like, yo, nobody got, oh, here go pet rent. Nobody have pet rent. Nobody has valet trash. Ooh, that should get you excited because you automatically, just by looking at the rent roll, you can say that's money that's missing that we could add. All right. Typically, to kind of like once you get done kind of filling through, what you can do is just scroll down and you'll normally find it at the bottom. Right. So, yeah.
Point about student amenities and pet rent. You not only want to know, ask the broker, like, hey, what is included in this? But you also want to know, at $15 in the area, is that a fair price? Is that too low? Because that's all opportunity again. So not only do you want to see what's being charged, but is it being charged enough? Is it like, does it include everything it should? Does it not include stuff that it should? Could it be pushing tenants away? Does it make up for the rents? So these are all things that you want to factor in as well. Besides knowing if it's there or not, is it comparable to what the market says it should be in that area? So that's something to consider and think about too.
Perfect. Good point. So I typically like to just come in and highlight my sections because this right here is where it says where the rent was at. And so here you have 381, 302. And then this says it's a summary. So I like to come in here and kind of see what is the summary of, right? So there's 3 people that's been on rent notice. You see how many vacancies they have? Let's see if we can open this up a little bit more. All right, so total vacancy is 44, and 403 are rented out, right? So, and essentially they'll show you. Let's see, they have total. So it's 405 total units. So I would come into here. Let me just do that.
And real quick, while we're looking at that, guys, don't look at the 300,000 and say, "Oh, that's the total rent." That was the square footage. It's very easy to mix the two up sometimes.
Yeah.
Like that second column, like, oh, you just see the number next to that must be the total rent. It's not. Another thing though, if you look at the 364 number, look at everything that it includes in the 364 number. You're including all the different additional income. we've talked about this before, and I want to make sure you guys really, really see why this is important. If I took the total income that's scheduled, I divided it by the total units, and I got my average rent per unit, my numbers are going to be off if I can try comparing it to the market. Does that make sense? I'll say that again.
Yeah, say it one more time.
364,000, and I divide it by 405. I have my average now, correct? If I go to the market, if I tell the broker, hey, send me all your rental comps, I can promise you no matter what condition that comp is, it's gonna be less than your number. Why do I say that? Because you have added $50,000 of additional income, $50,000 of additional income, which is gonna affect that average. So anytime you're doing rent averages, don't do it on the total income, because that's not your rental average now. You want to do it on only your rent, which would be the column that says 318,975. Because I want to know what my average rent is today. I don't want to know what my average rent is plus 50,000 of additional income. And again, I'm going to say this and make this clear. You want to know of the additional income. You have to make sure you know that's there, because their NOI and their total offer price factors that number in. So you need to be aware of it. But if I'm looking at it on the market and trying to compare rents and I'm using that inflated number, you're never going to add up. And you're going to be scrambling, you're going to be lost, you're like, why isn't this working? And that's why, is you're adding an additional figure or additional income, which it has nothing to do with the rents.
Yeah.
Rent isn't.
So when you're looking at, Nathaniel put a good point. When you're looking at trying to pay attention to value adds, always look at your rent roll, not the T12. And Joshua also made a good point, right? When you are looking at the rent averages, you only want to pay attention to occupied units, right? You don't want to pay attention to like all the units that are there and it's vacant. It's like what's the average of zero? it's zero, right? So very good point on there. Let me scroll down real quick because I want to actually show how this is so different. So here you see they gave you another, cute little chart here, basically going through all the different properties that they have that are, and try to give you, right? And essentially what they're trying to do is make your job easier, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes it just adds more confusion if you don't know what you are looking for, right? So based off of this, I actually want to see if I can open this up. So based off of this, what would you guys say the average rent is? Let's see if you guys can figure out what's the average rent. And then we'll also look at the market rent. Now this right here, future resident details, this is cool, but I wouldn't necessarily like bank on this too much. Now that's just me, right? Like, they put money down unless they're ready to. Let's see, starts. All right, so these guys they're already in here. All right, so because this is in December, a lot of these are already in play. So I would add those because they count. Right. But if it was like January or February or something like that these move-in dates were, I wouldn't necessarily focus in on them. All right. So what do we think the rent average is? Let me scroll up. Here's another chart that they put over here. They should just create one thing that everybody has to follow. That would be amazing.
Also, regarding when you're calculating the rents, if you notice how on our napkin we have the vacancy or occupancy percentage, that's why that's there, so that it does take into account unoccupied.
Yep. So here, there's 359 that are totally occupied.
Eddie, what are you looking for right now?
I'm looking for. I wanted to see who can give me the rent. The current. Current rent. Yep.
Go next to G. Go next to 2,541 G. Next to the rents.
Where you say? Oh, you talking about here?
The 318,975. Click the cell to the right of it.
318,945. Where are you?
See, on the line that says rents, under charge code summary.
Uh-huh.
Go to the right of rents, just click the cell, and we'll just divide it. Just do equals the previous cell, or the cell next to it, divided by
359.
The total occupied, 359. Yeah.
All right, so we got 88851. All right, and now what is the market pro forma? Basically, now here's something here I want to show. Sometimes you have people that will send you this as well, and this right here is just a breakdown, right? This would be considered like your glossary or your legend. They don't really give you much detail here. They kind of just show you like what mean. Here's the codes and all that other stuff, which is great, but we could have did without that. All right, so now we want to find out what the market rent is. Now, I would tell you, you can look at what you saw that too, right? Joshua, Boat Park. I would look at what the T12 is that they sent me and etc. But you know what I really do 90% of the time? 90% of the time, actually it's higher than that. It's like 95% of the time, I literally just go to Google and I would type in the apartments and I would do a search. And then I would look at, especially if you just go to like apartments.com, and I would just get what like the average rent of apartments in that area is. That's going to be the best way to do it. Now, if you want to, you could take it a step further and you can actually, hot pads. That's a good one. I never really use hot pads. I'm going to start using that one too. Hot pads is a good one. You can also use the OM from the broker. Now, here's why I say, look again. Everything is trust but verify, right? So if you get your OM from the broker and et cetera, that's cool. But you want to make sure you can get yourself accurate data. And what I was saying earlier is I'll go a step beyond. And I would call the apartment companies right off of the either apartments.com, or you can use hot pads and be like, hey, I'm looking to find out how much your price is for a 2-bedroom 1-bath, how much for a 1-bedroom 1-bath, how much for a 3, what's the highest you got? You go up to 3 2s, okay, cool, how much is that? All right, perfect. And I'll find out for myself in real time what the average rent is. Okay. Now, if you are already involved in the space, you can use different programs that you can pay for, right? Like CoStar, or Nathaniel mentioned one before, Yardi Matrix. That's another one that you can use. But yeah, Joshua, Secret Santa shop the hell out of the manager to find out what the real prices are, right? So on this one,
one more thing to add to that, regarding the rents.
Yep.
If you're investing out of state, you should have a property management company that you build a relationship with. The same way you're building relationships with realtors, you should spend more time making sure that you have property managers that you trust, so that way you can hire them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So have them do the work for you. Like, if they're not willing to do it before you got the property, I don't want them doing it when I get the property either.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's always to vet them and to test them. If you give it to 3 property management companies and one of them is way off, and the other 2 are like valid and they're showing you that they're accurate, you're gonna start questioning the third one, like, hey, what are you doing?
Yep.
And challenge them. If you're investing in the market, you need to know the market. Like, you're not just buying a piece of land you can just leave there. So it build a relationship with those management companies and tell them, hey, if I send you a property, can you give me the rent? It shouldn't be that hard, especially if they have property in the area. They know the numbers off the top of their head regardless.
Yep, very good point. Call the PM. Why don't you just type it in? Call them. All right, so stop calling Tyrone and call the PM. Make it happen. So for this particular one, the market rent in this area is just under 1,200. All right. So there we go. I got that. I got this. I got occupancy rate. Now let me get their asking. What are they asking for this deal?
Real quick, I'm going to answer Josh's point. If it's off market, the property manager might not know it's for sale. The owner would not want them to know. You don't necessarily, I actually probably wouldn't even call the existing property management company. I'd want to call one that I have a relationship with. So let's say, for example, Josh, you're the seller, you have your own property management company, and we're talking. So I'm going to have, hopefully, I should have a relationship with other property management companies that I trust. Like, I have a broker in Phoenix I can call and he'll give me the rental numbers. He has a property management company. He quoted me exactly on the spot how much it would cost per month for those units. And actually, that's another thing to think about is like, hey, how much would a property management company charge me to manage? If they're underwriting at 5%, but it costs me 7%, well, all right, then I have to factor them in now. Your numbers are different.
So, the person that sent me this lead, they said that the broker told them that the interest rate cap on this was 5.5. All right. Now, I want to show you guys something. You see when I put in 5.5, this thing went all green, right? Now, the truth of the matter is when I look this up, in this market, the cap rate is 6.8, 6.83. You see why we can't just go off of what the brokers is talking about? Right? Now, is there crazy upside? Hell yeah. This is probably the highest upside I've ever seen. And this is just surface level. We haven't really got down to the nitty gritty on this yet, to say the least. Okay. And they've already done a bunch of stuff. As we see, they have pet, they have washer dryer hookup, they have a bunch of stuff. So we will dive deeper in this to kind of figure out like, hey, what's really going on here, what's not really going on, so we can see missed opportunities. That's the whole goal. But the fact that they're asking so much is another question that will come up. Like, hey, why are you guys asking so much per door? Right? Tell me what's going on. And then again, is any of this assumable? Is there an assumable loan involved? Is there a seller carry involved? Can we get any details on that? So what I would be doing now is I'll be reaching out to the broker and finding these pieces of information out. Once I have that, I'll come and fill that information on here, and then I hit submit. Because this doesn't have to turn green in order for me to submit, especially if I know they're negotiable on price and there's an assumption whether on the loan itself or a seller carry. Does that make sense to everybody? If everybody understands and has been getting value and appreciate us rocking with you guys, let me know. Let me see some in the chat. Put some value in the chat. Throw some chargers in there, some fires, whatever you want to put. You can just type this in there if you wanted to, right? Like I can care less. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and no one's getting left behind, because the truth of the matter is this. Now is the perfect time to learn this stuff. Now is the perfect time to be familiar with it and really kind of like, you're not going to be learning this stuff when you get to January, you kind of like already know this stuff when you're in January, February, things like that. Because what's going to happen is once we get to the end of Q1, like listen, the end of Q1 is going to be difficult for deals to take place. I think primarily because private money is going to move slow, but there's going to be great deals. And then once you get to Q2, it's going to get crazy. There's going to be so much opportunity. And don't think you're going to miss out if you don't make nothing happen. I think the opportunity is going to last for at least 36 months, in my honest opinion. And I'm new, but the blessing that I have is I'm surrounded by some people who are really, really good at doing this stuff already and have been doing it for years. So a lot of the information that I'm regurgitating back and teaching back is based off of what's been taught to me. And so what I'm saying is knowing how to maneuver through this stuff now and what these numbers mean is going to help you so that when everybody's out here doing the damn thing, you can be part of that and you're not just learning how to do it then. All right. You know how to look and say what the gross annual income would be. You see what the actual income, you see what expenses are, you know what occupancy rate is, you know what the value upside is possible being, and you know if their number is good or not, price per door, based off of are they willing to be creative at all? And is there an assumable loan in place that we can make something happen? All right. So with that being said, we're coming to an end. I want to make sure we open up to see if we have any last questions. We typically go for an hour and a half, but tonight was really, really good. So we stand a little bit longer. But I want to make sure if we don't have any other questions, we'll close out for the night. And if we do, we want to make sure we answer your question before we go on. Also want to open it up to see if Ed, if you have any last things that you want to say before we let everybody roll out.
We got at least something for next week.
Yeah, we do, right? We do. So here's what we're gonna do, and here's what the T12s look like. I definitely forgot to show you guys the T12, but here's the T12, which gives you a easier understanding of the numbers from a trailing 12 months. That's what the T12 stands for. Okay.
Should we just do a full rent roll T12 OM like deep dive next week?
Yeah. Kind of knock out would that be good? Would you guys like that if next week we came in, did a full T12 OM, rent rolls and just break it down and use the napkin and walk that stuff through it? All right, perfect. All right, yeah, we'll be back on next week at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can find the link. In fact, what we'll do is this. So here's what I'm going to do. I promised I would hook you guys up. So here, let me go to it, share, copy. So if you guys go to the Facebook page here, which you see we were streaming from here as well tonight. If you go to the Facebook page, you'll be able to find this spreadsheet on the Facebook page. I'm actually going to post it right here for you guys so you guys can be able to see it. All right. Now, you know what I'll do? I'll post it right in this thing here. All right. So I'll post it in here so you guys can be able to see it. Now, the other announcement that I want to make is we have something else I want to give a shout out to some of our friends we have that are also in the same space doing multifamily, and they are killing it just as well. If you guys don't know them, I suggest you follow them. They are the Freedom Chasers, and they're actually doing an event tomorrow night that I would recommend you guys go to. And the reason why I would recommend that as well is because they are bringing on, first of all, they always bring on good stuff. They always do good stuff. Marcel and Jerry's on there. I mean, they're just solid individuals. You definitely want to make sure you link up with them. But they're going to have a gentleman that's on there that's going to be talking about how to get funded through Fannie and Freddie. Now, the gentleman that they have coming on, his name is Jerry Miles. He's a debt broker. He's basically a commercial mortgage broker. These are one of the Victor. Yep, Victor is my guy. These are one of the individuals you want to be able to have on your team. You want a debt broker on your team to be able to let you know, like, hey, I got a particular deal. Tell me what you think. What do these numbers look like to you? You know, can you have debt brokers that will underwrite a deal for you? Why would it be in their interest to underwrite a deal? Because they can get you the funding. So of course they're willing to help you. Plus, if you build a really good relationship, as you should be, you have someone that can be just a valuable key piece to your team and your network. So I'm going to put that link in the chat. Make sure you guys click on that. You want to follow up and join in that. It's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So you guys can be able to link in and have fun on that as well. Now, again, for our meeting, our group, you'll be able to find that in the Elevated Capital Investment Group. Just type that up and you'll see it. And when you're looking for, like, you know, if we're doing an event or something like that, you can find that information here. And also follow us on our social media. I'm always posting some stuff. If you're not following me, follow me here at This Dad Flips. This Dad Flips. Now, one other thing, next week is on Monday. Is actually the holiday. I believe Monday is going to be New Year's. Let me see here. Hold on. Just want to double check.
This Sunday?
So yeah, it's Sunday. So Monday at 2 p.m. So every Monday at 2 p.m. we typically do broker outreach calls, right? And so broker outreach calls is when we reach out to brokers, and we talk business, we talk shop, we get it in. Now, I don't know about you, but you can only imagine how many brokers are looking to talk business the day after New Year's. Not a lot, right? But we will be getting together and we will be doing role playing and getting you on board and ready so that the following Monday we can go back to our regular performing schedule, which is underwriting. Which is on Mondays at 2 p.m. Calling brokers. We call collectively as a team. We have billionaire Peter on there who spearheads that whole thing. He's calling brokers. He's helping people call brokers and connecting with them. And then on Tuesdays, we'll be doing another napkin underwriting at 8 p.m. So with that being said, again, follow us on Facebook, Elevated Capital Investment, and you can follow us on IG at Invest with ECI on IG. And of course, if you are, here's one last thing I wanted you guys to do. If you guys are here, make sure you're connecting in the chat. Like, you got to connect. I see Nathaniel put his information on there. Michelle, put your details on there. Whether it's going to be, your IG, your phone number, however you want people to get in contact with you, do that. Because people that's in this group right here, LinkedIn, perfect. Thank you, Grant. People that's in this group right here is who is going to probably partner with you either as a co-GP or as an LP. Like, think about it. All of us here are here for the same reason. We want to know more, learn more, and do more in multifamily. So it makes more sense to connect while we're here, build those relationships. Say, hey, I was on a Zoom with you with Eddie and the whole guy, Edward and Daniel and all that. I wanted to connect. I wanted to reach out because you don't know what those relationships, what can spawn from those relationships. Again, tomorrow night, that is going to be at 7 p.m. Make sure you tune in on that one. It's going to be at 7 p.m. If you click the link and register, they'll send you, the whole thing, calendar, email, and all sort of stuff, so you can be able to rock in. All right. Multifamily is a networking sport. So with that being said, I love you all. Happy New Year. And I look forward to seeing you guys all next year. And granted, I joke, but 2023 is going to be the greatest year of your life and your families and your generations to come because of what you are doing right now, because of what have you decided to do. We're calling this 2023 the year of greatness, the year of Michael Jordan did his thing. Number 23. Peace, love, stay charged up. Have a good night, everybody.
My phone number is in the chat if anyone needs it, so feel free to reach out.
Link up, link up.
Thanks, City.
Yes, yes. Peace, you guys.
Recording.